Wiggity wiggity, what's up, dude bros? Before we hop into the review, just want to say there's going to be some stuff down in the description if you're interested in how the channel works, and all that good stuff down in the description. Today we are going to be looking at the album A Messenger by Colton Dixon. A Messenger is the debut album from the Christian solo singer, Christian contemporary music singer, / America's Got Talent, 7th place finisher, / rocker, independent rocker, Colton Dixon. And it had relative... Sorry. That was weird. It's sort of popular. It has one of his most popular songs, Never Gone, and it has the Christian radio hit You Are is also on this album. So it kind of made a splash. And this album is actually, I think, 5 or 6 minutes shorter than Anchor. Anchor has 14 tracks, 2 non-songs, and 12 full-length songs. This one actually has 12 tracks. One of them is an intro, and the other 11 are full-length songs. So it rounds up to just a little bit over 40 minutes. Musically, this album is not actually too far from Anchor. It's actually fairly common in certain ways. For example, on this album, you have a range of very slow acoustic songs like You Are, Rise, or the final song, Let Them See You, and then some insane rockers like the opening track, Noise, and then you also have the song In and Out of Time, which are some of his most crazy, loud rock songs that he's ever made. And then, basically, all the other songs on this album are kind of in between. You have a lot of songs which either start slow and acoustic, they kind of start very slow, but then rock elements are later thrown into the songs, like they'll put in some aggressive drums or some, like, guitar, like rock guitar. And so a lot of these songs are a mixture of slow acoustic elements and rock music elements, which is interesting. A perfect example of this would be the song I'll Be the Light. I think it's the 3rd track on the album, the 2nd official song. In this song, it starts very slow and very quiet for the most part. But then, by the time you get to the chorus, he's still singing slowly, and it still kind of sounds slow and serious. But there's all these rock guitars and there's guitars and drums playing all at the same time, and it's just like, so you're mixing up the genres. You're mixing up the slow and the fast, the rock and the acoustic. So that's what this album sounds like. That's what most of the songs sound like. I'll Be the Light, with elements of slow and fast thrown in there. The lyrics are totally generic for Christian contemporary music. Colton Dixon very obviously played it safe on this album. He very much played it he definitely, this wasn't an independently released album. He was on Sparrow Records, which I'm guessing is some big Christian contemporary music record label, some Christian record label. And he clearly had them helping him out, saying, this is what you should do, this is what you should not do. And they said, write your songs like this, or we'll write your songs like this. And we're going to try to make these, we're going to try to get you on the radio. And it worked. You Are was a big radio hit for a while. So, it worked. But the lyrics on this thing, super generic. The vocals on this album, like I said, Colton Dixon plays 7th in American Idol. So you can expect the vocals to be pretty impressive. They're very emotive. They're very passionate on most of these songs. He can either, scream and go crazy on a rock song. He doesn't really scream, but he can either be really aggressive and fast on a rock song, or slow it down and just play with the piano and just really highlight his vocals with just very simple music. So, emotive, passionate vocals on this thing. I have done this before in the past, where I review 2 albums by the same artist, and I basically say the exact same thing for both albums, and I'm going to have to do that with Colton Dixon. I think this album it's mostly good. I would say there's very little on this album that's bad, that's downright bad, but there's very, very little that I could call great. The lyrics on this album, like I said, are insanely generic. Generic to the point where it's almost harmful, but not really, because the lyrics, there are good messages on this album, but they're messages that you have heard before. And unlike Anchor, and I think this is one of the things that make this album inferior to Anchor, Anchor had a theme, a concept going for it. like Walk on the Waves, Fool's Gold, the titles and a lot of the imagery, Walk on the, I already said that. But Anchor, that's a song. But they had a theme of like ocean, being on a boat, being shipwrecked, all that kind of stuff, being lost in sea. And this album doesn't have a theme, and so it's just pure, unadulterated genericness for the most part. You do have your good Christian messages on here, but like it's very... You do have substantive things, but very, very generic. Musically, I could scarcely say that a single song on this album sounds bad. They don't sound bad, they just sound kind of not great. Either almost boring or just not really. Just the best way to describe the music on this album is most of these songs sound not great. There are some clear exceptions to that rule. The hits on this album, the most popular songs, You Are and Never Gone, actually do sound really cool. I particularly like Never Gone. You Are is like an acoustic song where they do throw some other stuff in there, some more aggressive, some more like rock elements, and it actually works, I think, the best on this song, You Are, better than any of the other songs in this album. Never Gone also has actually some electronic elements that give it a cool atmosphere, and that actually does sound pretty cool. The song Scars has an interesting progression. It's one of the most creative and original songs on the album in terms of music. It starts off very, very slow and kind of even spooky, kind of a little creepy vibe, where it just very slowly builds, and it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool the way the song builds. It's a long song, and it kind of pays off. And then the other song on here that I like is In and Out of Time. This is a rock song, and it actually works pretty well. Like, Colton Dixon, when he aims for a rock song, like half the time he hits the mark and hits it pretty well. And I would definitely say that's true of this song, In and Out of Time. I saw this song live, and that was pretty cool. And it's pretty cool. This is a good rock song. Not a great rock song. It's a good rock song. The rest of these songs, honestly, not amazing. There's nothing on this thing besides these songs that really sound great. I'm going to say that the vocals on this album are good. This is a good album vocally. Again, I would say there's some wasted potential. I think his voice really, really shines when it's just him and a piano. And that's what he did on American Idol, I'm pretty sure. Or a lot of it was. And that's what he's known for. And that's where he really shines. It's songs like You Are and the last song and Rise, where you can really hear how good of a singer he is. But with all these other things where it's slow and then fast and then throwing all these rock elements in it, it just kind of obscures his voice, and he doesn't sound as good as I know that he could sound. So I want this guy to release like an acoustic album. That would do him good. He should do that. Colton Dixon, release an acoustic album. In conclusion, I'm going to say literally the same thing I said about Anchor. This is an overwhelmingly good album, meaning that there's like almost nothing that's downright terrible, nothing that's downright bad, but almost nothing, very, very little that I could call great. Very little that I could call great. In fact, no. This album, it's okay. It's good. Good lyrics, very generic, but good messages. Good music, but definitely not great. Good singing, but it could be better. I'm going to give this thing a 3.25 out of 5. The reason this album is lower rated than Anchor, if you're wondering, this album just doesn't feel as complete as Anchor. Anchor was cool in that it had the concept and the theme I talked about of being shipwrecked, lost at sea, being on a boat, all that kind of stuff that tied into the album cover. And by the way, the album cover for this album is super boring. It's a boring, dumb album cover. But the album cover like tied in with the theme and the lyrics of the songs and even the music on the songs. They would incorporate some elements. And that was honestly kind of cool. And that made it a much more interesting record. And this record just feels boring in comparison to that, in terms of having a concept or a theme. And I also think that the interlude tracks on the first album sounded a lot better than the intro on this album. It doesn't really work because Noise is not a great song. So it doesn't, that's the only intro is the one to Noise. So honestly, and it doesn't fit with the other songs either. So conceptually, this album is not as good as Anchor at all. Because it doesn't try to be conceptual. So, yeah. Wouldn't recommend this album, but I can't really trash it. It's okay.